sucked the whole roof off, and I felt the thing suck me up, and I grabbed my kid and my wife and hunkered down.
Tornadoes signaling the warning Hurricane Milton is coming.
The conditions are deteriorating as Hurricane Milton treks towards Florida.
It's looking like the storm of the century.
We're tracking the dangerous storm now just hours away from landfall.
Godspeed to all of us that are in the path of this storm.
And a look inside the eye of the hurricane.
So it's a little scary not knowing what you're going to go back to.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Elizabeth Cook.
And I'm Anne Makovec in for Liz today. If anybody in the path of that hurricane has not evacuated by now, the time has pretty much run out. The outer bands of Milton already hitting Florida's west coast very hard with landfall expected tonight. It is a vicious Category 3 storm right now, and officials are warning everyone this is a life or death situation. Milton is expected to be one of the strongest storms to hit that area in decades. This is a live look right now from Tampa Bay. You can see it is being lashed by rain and tropical force winds, and this is really only the beginning. The other big issue right now is the debris still left over from Hurricane Helene, and there's danger that that stuff could turn into projectiles as this really ramps up. Let's get over to Christian Benavides. He is live for us right now in Tampa. Christian, what conditions are you dealing with?
Well, look, we've been seeing some of those whipping winds, the heavy rain, because of the bands that we've been feeling from Hurricane Milton, which is about a couple hours away, according to the latest forecast, potentially 2 hours away from landfall. Everyone who has evacuated should already be hunkering down.
The outer bands of Hurricane Milton brought heavy winds, rain, and tornadoes to Florida's Gulf Coast Wednesday ahead of landfall.
It's still expected to be one of the most and worst destructive hurricanes to hit Florida in over a century.
President Biden and Vice President Harris were briefed on the storm, expected to deliver life-threatening storm surge to coastal communities.
The hazards are increasing. Depending where you are, it may not be safe, certainly to get on the interstate at this point.
With time running out.
We brought blankets, snacks, toiletries.
About 1,000 people turned up at this shelter in West Bradenton, carrying what supplies they could.
Everybody's worried about the same thing, you know, do you have a home to come back to?
Mass evacuations clogged state highways, with most gas stations in the Tampa area running dry.
I've been here for 38 years. And never have one that forced us to do this.
We're already seeing the wind picking up with landfall still hours away. At this point, downtown Tampa looks like a ghost town with so many people heeding those evacuation orders and moving to safety. But some are choosing to stay put, including this Tampa restaurant owner whose wife and 3 children evacuated.
I just felt compelled to not leave. I wanted to protect our home.
Milton comes just 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene ravaged some of the same areas, still littered with storm debris. State officials say crews managed to remove about half before time ran out and are prepared to respond to this historic storm.
The latest forecast shows the potential for up to 9 feet of storm surge here in the Tampa Bay area. It was 15 feet, but because the storm is trending south, that has gone down a bit. But I've seen some of the communities out on the barrier islands, and some of them were decimated by just 5 feet of storm surge 2 weeks ago because of Helene. So folks are still watching this storm very closely.
People that you've spoken with out there, do you get the sense that because Helene has just moved through, that there was an increased awareness of the danger here of hurricanes?
Certainly. Well, we've seen not just an increased sense of awareness. We also know that a lot of those folks, even some who rode out Helene initially, their homes are uninhabitable in those barrier island communities. So they're already evacuated, or they're already sheltering in hotels across Central Florida. That's also created sort of a crunch for folks, because there are folks who were looking for shelter at hotels, and all hotels were sold out. It was a difficult position for so many folks to be in. I spoke to one woman who told me that she rode out Helene. The storm surge, the water got up to her neck. She thought she was going to die. She called for help, but as emergency services have made it clear, and officials have made it clear if it's too dangerous, they're not going to go in and get you after they already told you to evacuate. And that's exactly what happened. She thought she was going to die, called, and they told her, we can't come to get you. She survived, and she's not riding out Milton out there.
Wow. Talk about a lesson learned and a 1-2 punch. Christian Benavides, thanks so much being live for us. Stay safe. We'll be checking in with you throughout the evening. Let's take a look, meantime, further down the coast. This is in Naples. It's about 160 miles south of Tampa. You can see the waves. They're smashing into that pier. Taking a look right now at the hurricane from space. NASA provided these images. These are from the International Space Station. They were taken this morning when the storm was still a Category 5. And again, it has been downgraded. It is now a Category 3. That storm is still a grave threat, though. Darren Peck joining us now. Darren, you've been tracking this thing for well over a week. What are we talking about right now?
First of all, the categorizing that we're putting on this, right? Everybody, we've been so focused on that. Is it a 5? Is it a 3? What is it? The only thing that tells you are the wind speeds within the immediate center of that storm. So a Category 3 is better than a Category 5 in that sense, because now you've only got sustained winds that are 130 miles an hour.
But it doesn't talk about the water and everything else that this hurricane
Exactly. And there, as we've seen, well, the winds are a huge concern with any hurricane, but what we've witnessed from these storms over the last several years are the other aspects that are oftentimes as or more impactful. Storm surge. With Helene, it was the intense flooding. So we're going to do a lot in terms of tracking this storm, in terms of timing and direction. But the first thing I want to do is just try to put a little bit of perspective on what's driving these storms to become as extreme as we've been seeing them getting over the last several years. And that's some of the context that I think will be very helpful to start out this discussion. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to visualize what this storm looks like on the big picture. This is the high-resolution satellite imagery looking down on Milton. And you can see that circulation in the clouds. You see it out there towards the left side of your screen. You can't even tell where Florida is because that's how large the shield of clouds from this storm has gotten. And you can already see this thing is about to make landfall. That much we know. That's been in the news quite a lot over the last 12 hours. If that's where Milton stands now, let's just go into a little bit of context on this. We're going to say goodbye to the big picture view, and instead I want to show you what the perhaps overriding driver for making these storms so supercharged is over the last decade. And it's out here. These are sea surface temperatures in the Gulf. It's one thing to look at a color-coded image like this. You can see that it's orange, and that tells you water temperatures are in the mid-80s. That's warm. Our water temperatures off our coast right now are like 60. So mid-80s is much warmer, but that's only half of the story. It's supposed to be warmer over here. It always was. But what we're seeing now becomes visual when we look at this a different way. And instead of looking at what the actual sea surface temperatures are reading you, we need to pull out the story of how far above average are those temperatures. Look off the coast of Florida. I'm going to zoom that in, actually. And when you look right off the coast of Florida, in the exact spot where Milton is going to make landfall, there is a pool of much warmer than average sea surface temperatures sitting out there. We know now, almost certainly, if you've been paying attention to the hurricane stories over the last few years, these things feed on warm sea surface temperatures. Not only is it warmer than average in the Gulf right now, it is the warmest it's ever been since we've been keeping records here. And in some cases, it's well off the charts. Why are these storms going through this rapid intensification? Why are they able to deliver such intense effects like what we've been seeing? Right here in our own backyard, turns out one of the institutions here helping us understand this and helping the world understand this is in our backyard. The Lawrence Livermore Berkeley Lab. There's an image of it here, and no doubt you've probably heard of this institution. They just shared some of their recent findings about 2 weeks ago after Helene came onshore. That was the one that caused such devastating flooding through North Carolina. That was off the scales, unexpected, and completely unprecedented. I'm going to pull out the two images that matter here most. This is their analysis, pointing out the fact that what we saw in the rainfall that Helene was able to produce was 50% bigger than it would have been before human-induced climate change. That's the image over here showing you the degree to which the rainfall was intensified. It's not just the warm sea surface temperatures giving these storms more fuel. A warmer atmosphere, by its very nature, holds more water vapor. And by warming the atmosphere as much as we've had, these storms are now capable of 7 to 10% more water vapor to work with. The image on the right shows you that the flooding that we saw through North Carolina from Helene was made about 20 times more likely than it would have been before the atmosphere started warming to the degree we've been warming it. We're going to track what's going on with Milton in great detail. You no doubt have seen that across many other outlets. We'll have more on it here throughout the evening. Paul's going to be on at 5 o'clock, and he's going to go into great detail on what we should all be expecting to take place from Milton. But the one thing that we shouldn't be surprised by anymore from hurricanes is the extreme and unprecedented behavior that they are exhibiting, and those warm waters and the warmer air play such a huge role in this. I'll see you with more on our forecast coming up again in just a few minutes. For now, Anne, back to you.
All right, really informative there, Darren. Thank you so much. Let's go back out live to the Florida coast because we have been watching all of these live pictures coming in all afternoon, and they're just getting darker. The National Hurricane Center says the most intense winds are coming onshore right now. And over the next few hours, they're tracking speeds of up to 120 miles per hour. Now, tornadoes have already hit Florida, like this one near Alligator Alley that's caught on traffic cameras. Fort Myers also seeing damage from an apparent tornado. Down trees, power poles, and debris from a 7-Eleven that was partially torn apart. Tornadoes also hitting Lee County. That is on Florida's southern peninsula. This RV toppled over onto a Jeep. You can see how it's just balancing there on a couple of its tires. Let's take another live look at the radar as Milton creeps toward the Florida coast. We are going to continue to bring you the very latest during this newscast and throughout the evening. The potentially catastrophic hurricane, also a chance for scientists to study the storm. Coming up, we're going to follow along with some hurricane hunters as they take us inside the eye of Milton. Plus, the storm is hitting 4 weeks from Election Day. We're asking how it could impact voter turnout in some of the key battleground states and how it is fueling a flood of misinformation. We'll be right back. You are looking at some live pictures there from Tampa where the rain is coming down. We are continuing to track Hurricane Milton. The storm is actually so strong, and we've been hearing several of these quotes, and they are disturbing. The director of the National Weather Service saying that he is scared to death by the sea level rise here. We've learned at least 2 counties have now suspended emergency operations. They say it is just too dangerous to respond to 911 calls. Take a look at this video. This is from NOAA. Hurricane hunters flew into the eye of the hurricane earlier today, and they say this is the eye that you can see there. The clouds twisting outside of their plane. Researchers say missions like this help collect data to help hopefully improve forecasts in the future. And here's some new video from NOAA's sail drone. It recorded a 28-foot wave with wind gusts as strong as 75 miles per hour. Here is another look at our live radar as we continue to track that path of the storm. You can see a lot of bright colors there. Hundreds of thousands of people in Florida already without power. And the storm, of course, a focal point as both presidential candidates remain on the campaign trail. During his rally in Pennsylvania, former President Trump took aim at the administration's response. Meantime, Vice President Kamala Harris criticized Trump for spreading misinformation.
The worst hurricane response since Katrina.
It is unconscionable, frankly, that anyone who would consider themselves a leader would mislead desperate people.
Voting rights groups in Florida have filed an emergency suit to reopen voter registration since the deadline fell on Monday in the face of these back-to-back storms. Joining me now to talk about it all, Sonoma State political science professor David McCuan. Thanks for joining us today. You know, when we talk about the election, it's still several weeks away, so maybe it's funny to think of how these disasters today could affect that. But when you're talking about voter registration and you're talking about some of these very thin margins in swing states, could that make a difference?
Yes, and it could make a difference. There's 2 elements to pay attention to. The first element is votes where voters vote absentee or vote by mail, and the processing of that. That is, what do states do in terms of processing that before Election Day? And then the actual counting process. And when does that begin? Does that begin prior to the election, on Election Day? At what time on Election Day? So given these events, what you are seeing is voters are going to be tested in terms of casting their ballot. That's hugely important in a state like North Carolina, for example, in a battleground state also like Georgia. less of an issue in Florida. Not that it isn't difficult there given this disaster. It's that Florida is locked in for the Republicans. So if you're looking at these states that have a margin just of 1 or 2% on each side, if you're talking about FEMA not doing its job, for example, that helps Donald Trump by 1 or 2 points. And that could be consequential. Then you get to the process of when the ballots are administered for processing, when they're run through machines, and then when they're actually counted and what that looks like. That could delay results as a result of these events as well. And your viewers might remember in 2020, we were waiting for results for a couple of days from Pennsylvania, another key battleground state, and from Georgia. So all of that could be a replay of 2024 of what we saw in 2020.
All right. And then in the meantime, of course, we've been talking about misinformation, seeing a lot on social media about who's getting help and who's not getting help, and if the administration is maybe behind in its response. How do statements like that affect how voters see this?
They do have an effect. Again, they have an effect on the margins, and where that's particularly acute is especially down ballot. For Senate races, for example, in a Florida U.S. Senate race, it could play a role in House races in terms of whether Republicans retain the House or Democrats gain the House. And again, in some of those key battleground states. So it goes to the narrative of what the government is capable of or not doing. And when you're looking at someone like Donald Trump, that is an important element, not so much about his base, but on white working class men and what they're seeing going on. And for Kamala Harris and for Democrats, they have to be concerned about the effects that can have with African-American males and with Latinos as well. So those are demographics that can be moved or motivated here, 1 or 2 points on the margins that could affect the outcome of the race. And that is particularly acute in many of these battleground states, and not confined just to, say, Pennsylvania or Georgia, North Carolina, but can also move west, headed to states like, for example, Arizona and Nevada.
How are the latest polls looking right now in the race between Harris and Trump?
Yeah, I mean, there is a momentum for Harris in terms of getting another point or two. There's probably a close of that. As a reminder for your viewers, tomorrow at around noon is the deadline for whether Donald Trump would accept going to a second debate head to head. So that could be an important element for tomorrow's news, whether or not there would be a second debate between these two major party candidates. And when we look at what is going on relative to the polls, there is this tightening that we expect to continue as well moving forward. Kamala Harris right now is not in a place in swing states where she's far enough ahead to count for gender and racial bias, but she has received some national momentum. We're going to start to see 3 to 5 polls released daily. So get ready. There's a deluge of polls as we look at an election that's less than 700 hours away.
All right. We know you're going to be following them. I sure would love to see a second debate. I think voters deserve that. So we'll see how that goes. David McCuan from Sonoma State, thanks so much. We're going to be right back.